There was a Twitter argument, I guess you'd say, not really an argument, it was really only 2 or 3 tweets, but it was an argument that I got into with a Sports Illustrated reporter named Ross Dellinger, and I think he's the best sports reporter in all of college football and maybe even all of football in general. Doesn't it say something about the structure of college athletics that you need 1 or 2 sports to help fund 20 others? Maybe schools shouldn't have this many sports in the first place. Just a thought. And here was his response. Be careful. Non-revenue sports provides free or partially free education for many not being able to afford full prices, jobs for thousands of coaches and sports staff, and youth leagues and camps that keep smaller sports alive. And I responded to him jokingly, but at the same time, I took it very seriously. I understand the benefits. I just don't see why I have to be careful in asking simple questions. I figure a journalist would understand. Now, maybe I shouldn't have responded in such a snippy way because I do have a lot of respect for him and I do think he is a legitimate journalist. But why can't I ask the question? Why do I have to be careful? To me, it seems like a broken system. So the Big 10 and Pac-12 conferences announced that they will be playing only conference games this season. And people started freaking out. Now, I saw 3 main points that people were talking about when this news first broke. This sucks that you're losing some big-time games. Wisconsin versus Notre Dame, Penn State versus Virginia Tech, Oregon versus Ohio State, Michigan, Washington. People are bummed out. The second thing they said was, well, this is good because it's for the health and safety of the players because they want to decrease travel time up in planes. Okay, I guess that makes sense. But then they said this third thing. What about the small schools? What about them? They're going to lose a lot of money. They're going to be the brunt of all of this. How do we help them? And that brings me to my main point. There is this thing that I've had a problem with in college athletics, and many people have for a long time, called pay for play or a rent a win. The reason why these big schools do this is for 2 main reasons. One, coaches like it because they get to rest their starters. Athletic departments do this because they get more money, even though they're paying a 7-figure paycheck. They get money from ticket sales, they get money from parking, they get money from concessions. So they do increase their revenue from these games. Here's the problem with it's all about the safety and not the money. Nebraska, for example. Nebraska's in the Big 10. Nebraska, before this Big 10 announced that they were going to play only conference games, Nebraska was going to play South Dakota State. Now they're not going to. South Dakota State was going to travel 290 miles to Lincoln, Nebraska. 290 miles. Now, they're not going to do that anymore because they're not in the Big 10. It was one of those rent-a-win games. But Nebraska still has to play Rutgers, which is also in the Big 10. Rutgers, Piscataway, New Jersey, is 1,286 miles away from Lincoln, Nebraska. If this is for travel reasons in order to protect people from COVID-19, then why is this the case? Why not just have Nebraska play all of their games within a certain mile radius, including their conference games? Because it's not really that hard to figure out. Just follow the money. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to predict everything. I don't know everything. I don't. But it's clear that even if they do play football, they're either A, not going to have any fans in the stands, which could be possible, or B, it ain't going to be at full capacity and it's not even going to be close. So they're going to lose money. The athletic departments will lose money. So why would they pay extra 7-figure buyouts in 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 games when they're already losing money, seeing as every game is not going to be sold out? Matter of fact, none of the games will be sold out. Now, the biggest problem I have with all of this is I hear people complaining about smaller schools getting screwed over and being affected by this, and they are. It's I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the players. I feel bad for the coaches. I feel bad for the schools. But at the same time, it's not the job of LSU to pay out Nicholls State. It's just not. University of Louisiana Lafayette, they pay their coach over $1 million. And they're worried because they're not going to get some of these seven-figure payouts or paychecks from bigger schools. Well, maybe you shouldn't be paying your coach $1 million in the first place. But it's not just the football teams. It's also the non-revenue sports at smaller schools and bigger schools. For example, Stanford, who's in the Pac-12, and they've got a lot of money, and they've got a good football program. They just got rid of over dozens of non-revenue sports like squash, field hockey, synchronized swimming, fencing, all that stuff. And people really started to get upset because are they going to lose their scholarships? Now, I'm not saying get rid of all the sports that don't make money. I'm not necessarily saying that. If you're losing so much money from mostly just traveling, the volleyball team traveling to Florida or South Carolina multiple times a year, that's a lot of money. That really is. Maybe you shouldn't have certain seasons that last as long as they do. And there's nothing you can do about it. If people don't show up and watch the games and they don't make a lot of money, you just can't fix it. Really, one last point I want to make about all of this is the economic impact of athletic departments at schools and also the towns in which those athletic departments are located. Malcolm Jenkins, who for those of you who don't know, he is currently the starting safety for the New Orleans Saints. And he was on CNN about a month ago or so, I guess several weeks now, saying that football is not essential workers. I think it's easy for someone who's the athletic director or even a politician in Los Angeles, California, or a school in New York City to say, oh, just tell your little football teams at your schools, just reschedule, or maybe they just won't play this year. It's easy for them to say that. But when you tell the people of Starkville, Mississippi, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Madison, Wisconsin, Norman, Oklahoma, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, when you tell these people, Clemson, South Carolina, when you tell those people that their football team doesn't matter, when you tell them that it's not essential to their economy, that's sheer ignorance. The mayor of Tuscaloosa recently came out with an estimate saying that if the University of Alabama did not play football this season, it would be a $2 billion with a B, $2 billion deficit to their local economy. Does that seem essential to you?